Okay, hello everyone. I am happy to introduce the first panel for today. So welcome also to those who arrive now to the Promoting EU Values in the Time of Physical Distancing. So today we're happy to have 4 presentations within this panel. And the first presentation is on simulation as a learning tool to promote EU values. It's a case study in a primary school in Ceres. We will have the pleasure of listening to Karagiozis Iohannis. I might have mispronounced your name. Please correct me if possible when you have the floor. And we will also be hearing from Loukas Konstantinos. And both of you are part of the T4E network. I've been a member since 2013. And you're both the primary school teachers. Loukas, you are also a headmaster. So that is very interesting, the different perspectives that you will be able to bring. I now give you the floor. I think your presentation should be around 15 minutes. We would have a choice, of course, of having presentation, question, but I think here what we're going to do is to have the 4 presentations, and I ask participants to note their questions. I will be looking at the chat and gathering questions for you at the end of the 4 presentations, if that is okay. Does everyone consent? Fine. Okay, thank you. You have the floor for your first presentation.
Thank you very much. My name is K.Loukas, and I'm very excited and honored to participate in this e-conference. And let's start. My friend Yanni should start with our presentation. It's in regard of a simulation as a learning tool and the case study of the experimental primary school of Ceres. We all know that Europeans were shocked in 2015 after the unexpected terrorist attacks in France and Denmark. These acts showed that laws and security measures alone were unable to provide protection, and there was a need to identify the deeper causes which led the perpetrators. Later that year, the European Union Ministers of Education held in Paris an informal meeting that resulted to a declaration for promoting citizenship and the common values of freedom, tolerance, and non-discrimination through education, since they realized that the only way to prevent the repetition of those acts was to inculcate European citizens with, and I quote, fundamental values that lie at the heart of the European Union: respect for human dignity, freedom, including freedom of expression, democracy, equality, the rule of law, and respect for human rights. These values are common to the member states in a European society in which pluralism of non-discrimination, tolerance, justice, solidarity, and equality between women and men prevail. But declarations and intentions alone cannot bring results. In order to ensure that the humanist and civic values we share are safeguarded and passed on to future generations, the implementation requires concrete action at European, national, regional, and local levels, with active involvement of teachers. Therefore, teaching and acceptance of these common fundamental European values should start from an early age. Teacher for Europe is such an instrument. Teachers are trained to disseminate the function of the European Union and to embed fundamental values to young students. In 2017, a simulation program was carried out in the context of the present work at the experimental primary school of Ceres, Konstantinos Karamanlis, with the participation of 23 students in the simulation of the European Parliament's Culture and Education Committee, dealing with European values like freedom, respect, and cooperation. The benefits that arise for students from collaborative teaching are multiple. Their technical skills are enhanced, their exposure to other languages and cultures is increased, their spirit is expanded, their perception of diversity is facilitated, and their acceptance rates are increased, while it brings students into contact with a digital society characterized by multilingualism and multiculturalism. But the most important thing is that it increases children's self-esteem and strengthens friendship. The simulation technique, which activates the students and increases their participation rates, has also given very good results in an attempt to represent a situation that corresponds to reality. In this context, students are asked to play roles and think like the protagonists of the situation. For example, if the program involves a meeting of a European Parliament committee, students are invited to work as members of that committee. And in essence, the simulation technique is an experimental teaching method of known value that excites students and activates them. Role-playing games, simulations, are divided into 4 categories based on how far they are from the real situation. They are separated in case of study, in role-playing games, in games, and computer simulation. Their usefulness lies in the fact that they help students to develop critical thinking and logic, to compare their values, and to use in practice the knowledge they have acquired so far. In the context of simulation, and in order for students to understand a situation in depth, they undertake to play various roles related to the situation in order to experience the process and gain experiences which will then be transformed into knowledge. This process helps students understand why some people react in a certain way and why and under what conditions they make a decision. However, for students themselves, decisions are not made under pressure, nor do they themselves bear the responsibility and the consequences of a decision as in real life. On the contrary, they have time to thoroughly examine the situation, identify any errors with the help of other students participating in the simulation program, and intervene with improvement moves. Initially, the problem was identified, which was the lack of knowledge about the European Union and its institution work. Then, both the expectations and the forces of the project were analyzed through interactive events aimed at raising the awareness of students and the wider society. The problems and causes that caused them were recorded in a problem tree, which included the problem, this time the lack of knowledge about EU operation, the immediate results, indifference, and lack of knowledge on important issues that affect the daily lives of citizens, and the indirect results, small opportunities in education and low self-esteem. The indirect causes, absence of actions and attractiveness in the school environment. After identifying the problem and its effects, a positive change was attempted. So the solution tree was now structured as follows: direct causes into objectives, indirect causes into activities, immediate results into expected results, and indirect effects into expected impact. It was found that knowledge on the European Union and its course of action was insufficient. An attempt was made to fill the gap through actions and events related to the European Parliament and the rights of European and especially young people. The whole process of role play evolves into 4 phases. It starts with the preparation, which is very important, as the success or not of the game will depend on it. This is followed by the distribution of the roles that the students will play, which is accompanied by information material about the people they will play. The 3rd phase involves the actual phase of the game, which is, if the scenario involves resolving conflicting situations or composing opinions in order to make a decision, the negotiation phase. During it, students list the problems and their views in the context of their role, analyze the information they have, and try to find ways to solve the problems and make a decision. The game ends with evaluation and feedback phase.
Thank you, Kostas. The limitation of the teaching practice of simulation are the fact that cannot accurately reflect reality as in the meeting of the real committee. There are various unbalanced factors that can hardly be predicted in simulation and this should be emphasized to participants to avoid confusion and misunderstandings. As in every other teaching situation, of role of the coordinating teacher is important as she guides through the whole procedure. The role play that the students of the experimental primary school of Ceres, Konstantinos Karamanlis, were invited to participate was focused of the operation of the European institution and more specifically of the Committee on Culture and Education of the European Parliament. The ultimate goals was for students to get in touch with the policies being developed in Europe and to learn about how its institution works. At this point, it should be emphasized that although the goals of this game are future-oriented, they should be realistic, measurable, time-bound, specific, and smart. In this context, the objectives set for the experimental primary school of Ceres were the acquisition of knowledge about the operation of the European Union and the activation of future Greek European citizens. Upon completion of the project, the multiple benefits of simulation identified once again. However, benefits have emerged for both the local community and the school. The students had the opportunity to further immerse themselves in the communication and information technologies during the information search phase for the execution of the game while the school was networked with other schools. Along with the students, the parents were mobilized as well as the local community, which was constantly informed about the course of the program while collaboration were created with non-school bodies. Through the whole process, the students came in contact with the policy on the way it is implemented. They understood the political processes, the way of making the decision, but also the consequences of this decision. For this reason, the simulation method is considered the best of the creation and strengthening of democratic ideas. At the same time, they were helped in their sociability, in their communication tactics, while they learned how to manage and resolve conflicts and how to adjust their perspectives. In this context, in Ceres, interactive events were organized in order to sensitize the society and young people about various European educational programs. Move to learn, learn to move, and to be informed about the action felt on the Commission. At the same time, educational policies have been implemented to enhance computer skills, improve bargaining tactics, rhetoric, and argumentation. The experiences gained by students extend beyond the learning level while making them less distant from various everyday issues which until recently seemed complicated. Now, since picture is worth 1,000 words, you can imagine the worthiness of the moving picture. Please take a couple of minutes to see what the students actually did on the presentation and dissemination day.
προσομοίωσε συνεδρίες Επιτροπής Πολιτισμού και Παιδείας του Ευρωπαϊκού Κοινοβουλίου από 23 μαθητές της 6ης τάξης του Πειραματικού Δημοτικού Σχολείου Σερών πραγματοποιήθηκε το πρωί της Τρίτης στην Περιφερειακή Ενότητα Σερών.
Στόχος της πρωτοβουλίας είναι να βιώσουν οι νέοι τι σημαίνει να ζουν στην Ευρώπη και τη θετική επίδραση που η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση έχει στη ζωή των Ευρωπαίων πολιτών.
Είναι η πρώτη φορά που μια τέτοια δράση υλοποιείται και παρουσιάζεται από σεραίους μαθητές, οι οποίοι καθ' όλη τη διάρκεια της χρονιάς μοιήθηκαν στο θεσμό που λέγεται Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση, δείχνοντας ότι οι νέοι, αν ενημερωθούν σωστά σήμερα, αύριο θα είναι συνειδητοποιημένοι πολίτες.
Πώς σε λένε?
Κυριακή.
Λοιπόν, πες μου, Κυριακή, τι θα κάνεις σήμερα εδώ?
Είμαι αναπληρώτρια εκπρόσωπος τύπου. Έχω επιφυλάξεις για Erasmus Plus κάτω των 16 ετών.
Μάλιστα. Και τι θα εισηγηθείς, τι θα προτείνεις εσύ?
Θα προτείνω να το συζητήσουμε πρώτα και μετά από ψήφιση να δούμε τα αποτελέσματα και έτσι να αποφασίσουμε.
Εμείς μέσα από αυτό επιθυμούμε οι μαθητές να αναλάβουν ρόλο, να παίξουν το παιχνίδι ρόλων που είναι η προσομοίωση και μέσα από αυτό να αναπτύξουν ικανότητες και δεξιότητες όπως λήψης αποφάσεων, επίλυσης προβλημάτων.
Αυτά τα οποία αποκόμισαν οι μαθητές. Επιχειρηματικότητα, συνεργασία, να μάθουν ότι εκτός από τη δική τους γνώμη υπάρχει και κάποια άλλη γνώμη. Να αντιμετωπίζουν τα προβλήματα, ας πούμε, τα οποία υπάρχουν στην Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση σε ένα συγκεκριμένο πλαίσιο και σε μια συγκεκριμένη διαδικασία. Να μάθουν να επιχειρηματολογούν.
This is a photo after the simulation, and thank you all for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ioannis and Kostas. This was a very, very interesting project that you had here. I have a few questions for you, but I'm keeping them for the end, and I invite others to do the same. And they have now issued LifeComp, which is learning to learn competencies. And when I saw your first or second slide here, it was so interesting to see the commonalities between what you're doing and what they have been working on. So yes, the question is challenges in preparation.
I think the preparation was so difficult. The available time in the classroom was a great problem. I think the challenge is to give our students experiential experiences to get to know the large European family on which we are a member. And another that European Union should not only on 18 years old students interest, but also on younger students, giving them opportunity to get to know the European Union. My students have learned too much with a simulation. The difficulties was a great problem. I should say that after the simulation, a teacher for Europe in my local community was success. Next year, 2017, the closed ceremony was with great success, and I think the future get in same way weiter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ioannis. Loukas, do you have something to add? Or sorry.
The only thing that I can add is that we should consider the age of the students. They're very young, and their skills and abilities are not like senior students, and it's something which is remarkable. They did a very good job, Giannis.
Thank you, Kostas.
Thank you very much.